It's time for Fast Five. Let's get to our first topic, and I'm going to throw this one to Danielle. The Keystone Pipeline won't have U.S. steel in it. The president said it would. What happened?
I'm not well versed on this topic, but I did happen to see a photograph today of the steel that was already purchased, I believe.
You're right.
That has been sitting around in snow or certain conditions. Beyond that, I'm not really sure. What do you think, Colin?
So I think it's a dime short and a minute late when we're talking about this, because I think you're absolutely right. Most of the materials for this were purchased way before this came up. So the notion that we could somehow, do we rethread? Do we buy a bunch more steel that was not budgeted for to replace the pipe that was already planned? And we had all these protests. We had pauses. The Corps of Engineers had to stop laying the pipe. They had all the logistics in place. So I think it was a stupid statement, pardon my French, on the part of the administration at this late in the game to say we're going to use U.S. steel. Well, most of the pipe was already laid, and we already had the stocks to build the rest of it.
Well, at this late date, couldn't we add a caveat to it or a requirement to it that only U.S. labor can build it? You can't have foreign labor build it.
Well, that comes down to, well, has it already been contracted out?
Well, and the other part of it, honestly, is okay. When was the court order to finally release the building of the rest of the pipe, and when is the pipe going to be completed? Next week. So everything was already in place.
Right.
I mean, there's no argument to be made there.
Yeah.
Can sharpshooters to shoot deer down at the battlefield? What do you think? Deer has really over an acre. How many deer is now taken over? Down at the battlefield, and the problem that we have.
We've removed all the predators, from the area that would naturally kill the deer. So, with that said, you have to take measures. Otherwise, you're going to have a deer overpopulation issue. You're going to have a lot more people hitting deer with their cars when they're driving near the battlefield. It's important to control the deer herd. Now, something I'm not aware of is what they're actually doing with the deer after they kill them. I would hope that they're donating them to a local soup kitchen or something like that.
That's what I heard that they're doing.
Well, have you seen that because of the deer, how much the crops have diminished of the farmers that farm the fields, and what damage the deer do?
I've personally seen the damage that deer can do to crops. And that isn't even in an overpopulation condition. That's just in normal conditions. So if deer get overpopulated, you're not going to have any crops.
Colin, what do you think of what they've done in Virginia now, where they've authorized robots to go up the street and deliver into a house?
I personally would love to have a T-1000 deliver a package to me. Kick the door in.
I'd be okay with a T-800.
Ask for Sarah Connor. Look, this is coming. It's coming. Robotics are going to be the next technological revolution. What amuses me, and Ken, you're going to appreciate this, is sci-fi has dealt with this for a very long period of time. It's not the fact that we are going to have robots, but how do we create a measure of safety in having robots?
Well, what do you do with a guy like Ken? Ken's a geek, he's into all this. Controlling, he'll have handles out there, joysticks, controlling where it goes. What could it actually do? What problems could it inflict?
What you do, and you ask a very good question, and this is again something that was thought about, is what Isaac Asimov proposed, which is you create a robot that is incapable of committing harm to a human being. Then it doesn't matter what you program it to do. If it is absolutely incapable of committing harm, it will not commit harm.
It depends what the payload is.
It's all good until that same robot then decides, well, the best way for me to not commit harm is to round up all the humans and put them in a camp.
I don't know if these are robots that take on a human-like persona.
Not yet,
of course not.
No, it's like an R2-D2.
Right.
We are going that way. That's a problem. That's eventually.
And artificial intelligence has been something that has been predicted to occur in the next 5 years for the last 100 years. So I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Danielle, I'm going to come back to you with Canada. You probably like the Prime Minister Trudeau up there. Canada has no plans to deter illegal immigration. What do you think about that?
And this means illegal immigration into
From
their
us
country.
to there, yes.
Yeah.
Canadians
400
are so
peop-
friendly. I think it's great.
Here's the question that I would have. Okay, who is going to illegally immigrate into Canada?
They just let them right in.
Seals? Polar bears? Maybe some grizzly bears?
And be
Or
careful about
Americans.
grizzly
So,
bears.
I mean, it's a ridiculous notion. That's like saying that Iceland is going to allow illegal immigration. Well, guess what? Unless you get on a boat or a plane, you're not getting there. So,
Isn't it something that in a given day there are 400,000 people that go back and forth across the border?
now
A
let me
day.
ask you a question. Have you ever gone back and forth across the Canadian border?
I don't have a passport. I did once when I was a kid
So
and didn't need
you
it.
cross into Canada,
Yes.
and you're greeted by a Mountie who says, "Welcome to Canada. There is a place where you can buy Cuban cigars and Cuban rum. And how long are you staying here? And have a nice day, eh?"
Right.
And then you go on to Canada, and you come back to the U.S., and you're confronted with a concrete bunker, machine guns, dogs, and a 2-hour wait to get back in. I think we're safe.
I got to tell, my mother's going to be watching this. When I was a kid, we went to Canada. On the way back, I bought firecrackers and hid them in the trunk of the car. I never told my parents, and they caught us at the border. So, Mom, I just finished telling something I did when I was a kid. Got us all in trouble, had to hand them back in, and I caught, you know what.
You're
for
such an outlaw.
Now, who are you caught by, the Canadians or the Americans?
it. On the American side.
So if the Canadians would have caught you, they would have just told you you're bad. Hey.
Stay tuned. Last call is next.